Hello, everyone. Uh, welcome. I was planning to wait until 5 minutes past to give you all time to join, but actually we are already a good number of people, so I think we don't need to keep waiting. We can start. So I imagine you are all seeing my screen. Share any reaction. If that's not the case. But otherwise, we will kick it off. Thank you, thank you. So welcome to this webinar. This is a feature spotlight webinar, and today we are gonna be talking about configuring data entry forms, both for web and for Android. My name is Marta Vila, and I'm gonna be guiding you through the configuration that we can do using the UI. So this webinar is a bit of back to basics. It's not that basics because some things have been added recently, but we are gonna review all the features that let us configure our data sets. So data entry forms, meaning data sets, with the UI built-in functionalities of the HIS2. So before moving to the agenda, I just wanna reshare that this webinar is part of a webinar series that we call Feature Spotlights. And those are an opportunity to dive deeper into new and not that new, as you will see today, parts of the application. So the purpose is that we have time for demoing things in detail and also to answer questions afterwards. Then we can either, in some cases, we highlight new functionality. In some other cases, we just review what is there in detail. In some others, it's a combination, like today. In addition to these feature spotlight webinars, we do have other type of webinars. So this is the calendar. I hope I didn't miss any. Otherwise, please, Simona or Shurajit, use the chat. But as far as I know, in December, we have 3 more. We will have a release webinar, which is where we announce new versions. In this case, it will be for the HIS2 Android app, the version 3.3. And this is early next week already. Then we will have the second part of an implementation insights webinar, which is addressing, well, it's about tools for addressing metadata challenges. So this had a first part 1, which I think was last week. Time flies, if not last week, the previous, but very recently. And the second part will be on December 16th. And then the next feature spotlight will be the day after, December 17th, and it will be on the data visualizer. It will be similar to this one, a review of existing functionality in detail with time, and then showing some tips and tricks and some new functionality. So that will be all, then we will stop for Christmas or holiday season. So now we can move to the agenda. This is what we are going to be reviewing today. So we will mainly talk about the setup and configuration of simple forms and section forms, particularly focusing on the custom title and subtitle, showing content before and after the sections, disabling auto-grouping of data elements, rendering sections as tabs, and transposing rows and columns. I'm going to stop on each one of them for a while. So this is just a quick review. And then before finishing, we will give you an update about the support for custom forms. So before going deeper into each one of the config options, I want to make sure we are all together in the understanding of what do I mean when I say simple forms, section forms, and custom forms. These are the 3 forms that you have in the HIS2 for data sets. So for aggregate, for collecting aggregated data. And the simple form is the form that will be displayed automatically by default, which will be the list of data elements that you have selected with in the rows, and then in the columns it will have the options that belong to the categories that are assigned to that data element in the category combination. And yeah, these are the simple forms, and they will display by default. Then the next part or the next forms are the section forms. And the section forms are similar to the basic forms, but you can distribute the data elements in different sections. You can group the data elements in different sections. In both cases, your data elements will follow the order that of your selection, but when they have different category combinations assigned to the data elements, then they will be grouped by that. So the order is respected by category combination. Meaning, or saying it differently, the data elements are automatically grouped based on the category combination in these forms. Either basic, flat list, or section, different groups of data elements that the section form will allow you to decide a bit more about how the user navigates the data entry form. And then we have custom forms. Custom forms are more flexible. Custom forms are the ones that you define outside using JavaScript, CSS. You change the layout, even add some basic logics to modify how the form looks or simple actions that are performed within the form. And as you know, in 42, the new data entry app replaced the old data entry app. And with that, we lost support for custom forms. So today, the custom forms are not supported in version 42 of the HIS2, but that is about to change, and I will tell you more later at the end of this webinar. One more thing I want to say is that basic forms, section forms, and custom forms follow a bit of a hierarchy in the sense that if you have a section form, it will display. So if you don't define anything, your basic forms will display, both in web and in Android. But if you define a section form, that will overtake, and you will see the section form. The basic form will not be there anymore, both in web and Android. And if you define a custom form in this similar screen that I'm showing here, if you define a custom form, then that will take over your section form, and that's the one that will be displayed. But that will happen when they are supported only for web. In Android, we don't have support for custom forms at the moment. So the simple thing to remember is that the more advanced as a form you have defined, that one will be displayed. You don't have to say anything. If there is a section form, it will display. If you have a custom form, it will display. You don't have to worry about the previous ones. This is explained in your dataset configuration in the new maintenance application. In this little helper or help box, we will explain you what is displaying. So for example, in this case, this dataset has a section form and it doesn't have a custom form. So it will tell you, it's telling you web will display a section form, Android will display a section form. So you have the same in both. This little eye will show you or remind you what is this form. I think you all know this, so I'm gonna move on. Sorry but I just wanted to make sure we manage this logic. And then what we are going to do today is in these screenshots. We are going to guide you through transitioning or making a data set looks like this, screens on the top, to a data set, data entry form that looks like this, that has a different distribution on the table. Do you see my mouse when I move it around? Can someone react? Is the mouse visible?
Yes, we can see your mouse.
Yes, okay. So the table has a different layout. We have titles, we have text. There are different things here and there. There are tabs that we are going to show you how to configure with the UI. So let's then get us started. The first functionality that we are going to explain is how to add a title and a subtitle. So by doing this, we will display a custom little title and a longer subtitle in the dataset forms, and that will give additional context to the user, even instructions if you want. So to configure that, we have to go to maintenance, dataset, edit, and then go to the forms. I'm going to show you in a minute the new maintenance app. And then we find this display options, display title and subtitle. And then whatever text we put here and however we configure the alignment, that's how it will display in the dataset. Meaning we will change from or move from a form like this to a form like this that has a title and a subtitle. So let us have a look and configure it directly. So you should be seeing now the new data entry app. I'm gonna refresh in case I lost the session. No, everything's good. So I'm in the new data entry app. I am in the new maintenance app. I'm in the datasets section and I want to work on the child health dataset. So I'm going to click on edit. And here is where this left bar, this menu here on the left is very handy because we know we want to go to the form section. This is a very long configuration form because datasets have a lot of options. So I can directly jump to form. And here is where I can choose to display a title and a subtitle. So I'm gonna copy from here because as you can imagine, this was prepared. So this would be my title. And this will be my subtitle. And I'm gonna say line start and save. So let's go have a look at our data entry applications. First thing, well, if we open both, you see there is no title here, right? So we need to refresh both. I'm gonna click the refresh on Android first because it's slower. On web, I just need to refresh. And here is our title aligned to the left. So we can tell to the user things like, this is your weekly pediatric service summary. Use this form to submit the identified aggregated weekly counts for caseload, vaccination coverage, whatever contextual explanation you want to give to the users. So this is how it will look on the Android app. So you see, I chose align left, but let's quickly say we could align line end. We said line start, line end. Line end can be useful for languages that use right to left writing. I'm gonna do this only in web because it's faster. So here now you see the new alignment. And then the last option was center, which is my favorite. So we are gonna leave that one. So let us update the Android app. Tick, tick, oops, tick, tick. And refresh here. So this is the title center now. And in Android, it will also center and look like this. We are done adding titles and we are going to move to the next section. Please share your questions on the chat, if any. Also, if you have questions about functionality that we are not reviewing today, but related to datasets configuration, we can also address those. So now we're gonna move on to content before and after a section. Content before and after a section allows the display of custom text to provide instructions or even link to resources, because the richness of these ones, of these two fields, is that they render basic HTML for formatting. So let's see where that is. Again, we are in the maintenance app and in the form section, but now we are going to edit a section. So we can use this functionality if we have sections. We need to create sections, even if it's only one, and then we can add the text before and after or data elements. So we will go to the sections and then edit. And these are the fields that you're looking for. And the content, the form will change from this, that we see it has no text at all, to this. So now we are showing some content. I'm sorry, the font is a bit small for for this screen. But this is, you see, we are using bold text and a link here. So let's see how we do this in our forms. So as we said, we are in datasets, edit, form, and now within a section, I'm going to edit. I scroll down and I look for these two text boxes. I'm gonna copy my examples. I think I have to say, I'm seeing now, I don't think we can, the font size, for example, I think will be ignored. We cannot change the font size, but we can, use formatting like bold, as you see here, or adding links. So let's save this and look at how it looks on our apps. This demo might be a bit repetitive for some of you, but we really want to cover everything in detail and leave the materials recorded. So yeah, here we have our text before. You see the formatting, and then here we have the link, which is a broken, like it's an empty link, it's not going anywhere. But you see how it would be if you want to reference guidelines, external resources, or anything. And it's the same in the Android app. You see here the text highlighted with a little background, and down here you have it. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Let's go back. Yeah. And this is how you add content before and after the data element data entry form on your sections. So let's move on in the interest of time, because our next functionality is going to be transpose. We can transpose rows and columns. So this will enable alternative layouts for the forms. As we explained earlier, by default, we have the data elements as rows and the options of the category combination as columns. So we can play with that. So let's see how. Again, in the maintenance app and within the sections. So this is the same as we did before. We need to look for this display mode. And then we have default. We can pivot everything. Default is the one that I just explained. Pivot will pivot, transpose all columns and all rows. But then the third one is very interesting. It will move one category of your choice to the columns, to the rows, sorry, from the columns to the rows. And it will offer you the different categories that the data elements have through the category combination in the particular section. So that will, the change that you will see, it will be from a table like this, where we have all data elements here, and the options as columns, as you can see here, to something like this. In this case, we have moved one of the categories, the EPI, nutrition age, in both. Let's have a quick look. So we are already in the forms, and we go to immunization, and now is when we are going to, for example, pivot everything and see how that looks. So this is, for example, particularly bad for Android, because it's going to be a table super long width, and then for web, it's also not looking good. As you can see, this is the resulting table. Now we have the data elements in the columns. This is clearly not what we want. Let's see in Android, it's even worse. Yeah, this is our table. Even in landscape mode, this is not going to look good. Let's try. I hope the cable, tick. Not you. Yeah, still a lot to scroll. So yeah, not really the rest configuration. Let's get this back and try something better, like we are going to move only one category. So as you see, we see these two that are the ones for the data elements. We said we would do API nutrition. We're going to save that and refresh again. Thank you, thank you. And here, this is our new table. This one is what we wanted, and we have one category in the columns, the location, and the other category, both making part of the category combination, the API nutrition age and in the rows. So this is what we wanted. We can look at it in Android. And this looks much better, as you can see. For example. So this is how we can transpose either all rows and columns or one of the categories. So we are going to now move to the next. Previous to last is the display sections as tabs. This is a very old friend, but it has an improvement. So displaying sections as tabs lets you, this behaves a bit different between web and Android. I will explain as I demo or as I show you on the screen, but it just lets you flip the sections. First thing, showing them in tabs, navigate like actionable tabs, either horizontal or vertical on the left side of your tables. So to configure that, you need to, by default, it will be in single page, which means all sections are shown consecutively in one form, one after the other. This refers to web, as in Android, we never list one section after the other. By default, in Android, we have tabs, as you might have seen already. This is the default in Android. So the default behavior in web is that you have all sections listed one after the other. They can be collapsed, or you could decide to move to only one of them. But in Android, you will always have tabs because it was really not usable to have them one after the other. So what are our slides? Here. So you can either have single page which will show the two screens that you saw, or decide to move to tabs. And when we move to tabs, you will see that we can choose either horizontal or vertical. So this is the default table, a default form. This is how it looks if you say horizontal, like render as tabs, horizontal tabs. Android, nothing happens because that was the default behavior. Web will move well, you can still navigate here, but it will add these tabs for the user to change sections in one click. And then if you choose vertical tabs, then in Android, there is a difference. They will be shown on the left side of the screen, but only if the device is a tablet on landscape mode. Otherwise, it's not visible and we are not displaying it. So you can see that in some cases we bypass, not ignore, but bypass the configuration by keeping screens that are usable. So the vertical screen will in web show you the tabs here. In Android, if you have a tablet, if you have a phone, I mean, it depends on the size, but let's use, if you have a phone, you will always see horizontal tabs. If you have a tablet and you are in portrait, you will see horizontal tabs. If you move to landscape mode, then you will see vertical tabs. So let's have a look at that together. And this one is here, single page. Then we move to tabs. We leave it as horizontal. And tick. Android, I don't need to update. There will be no change, but in web, now I have these two tabs here. I'm gonna try, can I do this? Yes. So you can navigate from two places. But let's try now the vertical tabs in the form. This is not in the section. This is back to the entire data set because tabs apply to all sections. So this is a data set level. We choose vertical now. And now we want to update both. So let's leave Android syncing and refresh here. So you see that the tabs have moved from the top to the left, but we can do exactly the same. But then in Android, apparently there is no change because the tabs are at the top of the screen. But if we move to landscape, oh, there is one. Now you can see that the tabs are on the left. But if the user switches to portrait, then the tabs will be back to the top because it is more usable. So this is all about rendering sections as tabs. Let us go back to our program. And the last functionality is disabling grouping of data elements. Disabling grouping of data elements, what does is to provide an option to respect the order of your data elements within the sections. This one is again within sections. And preventing automatic grouping by category combination. This is what I explained at the very beginning. By default, if you combine data elements in one data set that have different category combinations, the DHIS2, the data entry apps, both Android and web, will group them on the screen based or per category combination to make the tables look better. That's like, because they will have the same number of columns, right? Depending on the options of the category combination, same header. So it definitely makes sense by default to group them by category combination. However, if you don't want that, if you want the order to be respected, whatever order you put on your configuration, then you have to tick. We are now again in the form part of the edit dataset, form section. But now we are within the sections again, because that's where, this goes by section. So we click on edit and then we look for this option, disable automatic grouping of data elements. And the form will change from this. So you see these two data elements are on the top. We will change from that to this, where children getting therapeutic feeding is still the first one. But children supplied with food supplements is the fourth one, which is the actual order configured. Let's have a look. It will be more clear. Oops. Here. We are in the forms, so we are gonna be in the nutrition section now. So you can see here that the actual order is number 1 and number 4. And that's not respected here. Let's go to nutrition. Both are on the top. You see the tables make much more sense. Both are on the top. This one only has 2 columns. So let's make this a bit smaller. This one has 4 columns. This is the default behavior. Now we say, no. I don't want that. I want to disable the automatic grouping. Don't group them automatically. Then we save. Sorry. And then now we need to refresh. Tick, tick. But here we just need to refresh. So in your nutrition section now, this is the beautiful resulting table where the order of your configuration is respected. You might want to use this for certain data sets. You might want to move things down. It's up to you to decide if you want the order to be respected or if you want the grouping to be made automatically by using that setting. And with this, we have covered the functionality that we wanted to highlight and show with detail today about basic forms and section forms. But what about custom forms? We are aware that losing the support for custom forms was a big thing. At the same time, we needed to transition the app to to keep it relevant at technical level. And then kind of improve the way in which custom forms were supported. Let's say the previous app, which was on Struts, was a bit wild. It was allowing to do things that were not supposed to be done, but was still possible. There was less control. And what we are trying to do now, what we are doing now is to update the data entry app to support the custom forms using JavaScript. CSS has always been there, as it did before. What will happen now is that the few things that you might have been doing when you were using the Struts app, the old app, they will not work here. So if your forms are using any of those things, I'm going to read the message from the developers to make sure I said it properly, because I think some of you might be very interested in this. So I want to get it right. So for example, if you were using APIs that are deprecated, if you relied on CSS styles that were part of the Struts app, which is the old data entry app, if you relied on internal hidden functions in the Struts app that were not supposed to be there, or if you made overrides for the Struts helpers that were also not supposed to be done, those things will not work in the new application, but you can work on your forms to make it work as they were before. But besides those and maybe a few more exceptions, your forms should work directly in the new application as soon as it is released. And initially, there was the idea of releasing a plugin that you could install if you want to use custom forms. The developers have made a huge work in making this as seamless as possible, so you will only need to update the data entry app. As soon as the new data entry app is available, we will absolutely let you know on the COP. You just need to update the application, and it will run. The plugin will run transparent to you, and your custom forms will load right away. If something doesn't work, then it's either because we need to get your feedback and fix it, or because you were doing things that were not really supposed to be done and you need to find another way to do it. In any case, once this app is released, expected early 2026, we will be super attentive to either get your feedback if we missed anything. As you know, you have capacity to create way more things than we can imagine. So we will be very attentive to either get feedback on things that might not work or support you on the process to transition to the new app if there were any challenges. So just to show you a little bit of the demo version, we do have one loaded here. This app, the version of the app I'm using is the development version, so it does include this functionality. And of course, I broke some of the selections, but it's going to work as soon as I do this. So this is, let's make it a bit smaller. Yeah. This is a custom form, for example. And this one has, let me delete this. I tried before. It does have the same offline support that we had before. You can see that the styling is totally different. And then some logics like fill in with zeros is implemented. So we are really, really looking forward to release this so that it's available for all of you to test and share your feedback. I have shared everything I had. I don't see many questions on the on the chat. I know it was very simple, so I hope it's because of that. So this is just a summary of everything I presented. So, and when things started to be supported in the HIS2. For the basic, and let me drink a little bit. For the basic and section forms, the Android app included everything in 3.2. So very new. In the previous version, I mean the last one, the one released in May. For web, it has been coming gradually since 39, then some in 41, and the last two titles and the render sections stubs in 42. And then the custom forms, they will be released in the during the release cycle of 43, but they will work on 42. And the Android Capture app, unfortunately, does not support custom forms at the moment. Here you have some resources because the slides will be shared. You have the documentation. There is transition kit, which is the transition kits are the materials that the training team prepares for supporting implementations that are moving from an app that is deprecated and then to the new version. For example, from tracker capture to capture, from old data entry to new data entry. So this is coming soon in Docs, and it will be announced on the COP. And then there is already a COP post. This is the title, if you want to search it. Top frequently asked questions on switching to the new data entry app. And that's already on the COP, but it will soon be integrated. It will soon be integrated in the documentation to remain there. And then, of course, you always have the demo instances. And with that, I don't have any more content, so I'm gonna move to the chat and see. Yes, we are recording. Following the discussion on the custom forms, if I had a JavaScript, so I'm reading a question from the chat from Mayamiko. Following the discussion, custom forms, if I had a JavaScript custom form in version 39, are there alternatives to help keep my form in the new version? Yes, maybe this was before. So you can keep using that custom form you said in 39 in 2.40 and 2.41. If you update to 2.42, you will only have to version 42. What happens there is that the old data entry app is not available anymore. And the new data entry app today does not support custom forms. So I will say to not upgrade to 42 yet and wait until the new app is released. And then at that moment, you can use your custom form seamlessly. So I think starting January, probably you can update to any version of the HIS2 and have your JavaScript custom form working, as long as it's not doing any action on the ones that I listed. But again, if something doesn't work, we are available on the COP to learn and help you overcome those potential challenges. Okay, kindly share the recording. Yes, recording will be shared. I'm seeing a lot of love. Thank you for that. Okay. So maybe I can ask my colleagues if you want to add anything that I might have forgotten. Use the chat or just jump in. Carolina, David, and Nancy. Otherwise, I think we can leave it here. Simona, what do you think? Should we wait a bit? I don't think we are getting any more questions. Yeah, so I think I can just thank you all for taking the time. I really am going to go back to the beginning. I'm gonna close with this slide to remind you to please join these webinars. We really appreciate your time and hope they are useful and keep contributing for you to make the most of the HIS tool. So with this, we are going to close the session. Thank you again and see you on the next webinar. Have a good day.